Welcome to a new episode of the Bold Take Podcast, a very Merry Christmas episode of the Bold Take Podcast. I'm Austin Wader. You know that man next to me, the Austin Hill. Only episode we are recording this Christmas week is an NFL episode. If you don't know why, you'll go back and listen to our college football episode from last week. It will explain it all, I promise you. But only NFL this week. It is Merry Christmas to all you that listen to this episodes that decide to listen to us to talk about sports. Appreciate you all more than I think y'all even realize. So, yeah, Austin, how's your Christmas week been so far?
It's been good, a nice week off. The begin. Not even been a week off of work yet, so it's been a nice, relaxing time. It's funny. It feels like I've been off for forever because we got out on Friday, and I realized today, like this is the first actual day of school like I'm missing because we have Mondays off usually. So this is like my actual first day of break. Like Saturday, Sunday, Monday are all part of the regularly scheduled program, but getting Tuesday off, I realized that my break is only just now started. So
That
it's been nice to just kind of sit down, relax, and obviously a lot of great football that's been played over the weekend. So excited to talk about that.
Yeah, me too as well. Yeah, that is funny whenever you think about it there. Yeah, it truly is just the start of Christmas break for you. But let's dive into the NFL. We got a lot more clarity this week, Austin, and a lot more fun football we're going to talk about in just a second. But we always dive into it with our biggest winners and losers from the week in the NFL. Austin, let's start with it. What about your biggest winner from week 16 of the NFL?
Man, there are a lot of good choices here, and the biased Bears fan in me wants to take the Bears. And while I think the performance this week is certainly winner behavior, I think there are some more impressive games out there. Obviously, what happened on Thursday Night Football was a treat. But the game I'm really going to circle in and zero in on was a game that we were both kind of all over. And I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars as my biggest winner of the week. You talk about the
Mm-hmm.
Broncos sitting at the top of the AFC, look like they're kind of going to be in control of their division. You've got the Jaguars, who have kind of been up and down the season, sitting at only four losses, but those four losses kind of came in almost rapid succession this season, where it looked like maybe this team was losing momentum and losing steam. But they're back on playing their best football. Trevor Lawrence looks really, really good right now. He's finding a way to make things happen. And I think you just got to be excited about the way the Jacksonville Jaguars are playing right now. So I like the Jaguars, my biggest winner of the week, taking on the top team in the AFC on the road and taking them down and doing it via the air with one of the best secondaries in the NFL. Shout out to the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, you love to see it for him. Love to see it. We'll dive into that in just a little bit more. I'll go with a fun one for my biggest winner. Man, how about this team on a three-game winning streak to end the year? Give me the New Orleans Saints, the biggest winner. Again, I don't know how good the Saints truly are talent-wise this year, but 3 wins in a row. Tyler Shook, I think, has just as many wins as every other rookie quarterback this year in the NFL. So it's a fun story there for the Saints, and it adds a lot of intrigue for them going into next year. With finishing the year beating the Panthers, beating the Buccaneers, and now winning a third one against the Jets. I mean, realistically, they could be finishing the year 7-10, and they could be a fun potential dark horse wild card candidate for next season. So absolutely a fun win for them. I think they're my biggest winner. Biggest loser, Austin, the world is your oyster on this one. There's a lot of candidates out there. It doesn't even have to be a team. It could be a player, which I know that's where I'm going to lean with it. But biggest loser, who do you got for us?
Man, there's a lot of tough options and a lot of tough picks. But look, I think I probably would have circled this game no matter who was the loser of this game. And it's not so much to do with performance, but result. I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in this game.
Mm,
This is a battle for the division. For both teams, this should be what, a two-game skid, at least, after the results of last week, where neither team could gain control of this division. But it was a clash, and it was in Charlotte. Winner gets to take this division. Loser now sits in second place and has a lot of work to do these last 2 weeks of the season. I give it to Tampa Bay here, especially because you think about in control, successful. Injuries come out of nowhere and really kind of hampered this team and put a cap on what they were able to achieve this season. But now that they've got everybody back, We keep waiting for that moment where this team goes back to the way they were playing to start the season. And that is just yet to happen yet. And now Carolina controls the NFC South with, controlling their own destiny. They win out, and this is a done deal.
Yeah, I mean it's really a fun story, just for a million different reasons. We all wonder what Bryce Young's going to be. It's been a fun story there. Biggest loser to me again. You got a million different freaking candidates you could go for this one, uh, but mine is a personal one, and I won't say too much other than DK Metcalf. Losing out on potentially $45 million because he decided to go over and talk to a fan. Um, just stay away. Just don't give the fans what they want whenever talking. But we'll dive more into that in a little bit here. Let's get into these games, Austin. And oh my goodness, what a Thursday night we had to kick off week 16. Let's say it like it is. Me and you were both excited about this game. We said, I hope it lives up to the hype. And definitely it did. 38-37. The Seahawks beat the Rams. For 3.5 quarters, this really looked like it was all Rams. They were dominating, up 30-14. The Seahawks just threw an interception with 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. It looked like the Rams were in control. Then a punt return for Shaheed, and then a three and out for the Rams. Then a Seahawks touchdown, and the most bizarre 2-point conversion I've ever seen in the history of the NFL. Then another Rams three and out. Then they go to overtime, and you have a touchdown for the Rams. Seahawks score and get a 2-point conversion. And Austin, after all this, after all our talk about how great the Rams have been, it is now the Seattle Seahawks who control their own destiny. If they win their final two games, they will win the NFC West and be the number one overall seed in the NFC.
Yeah, this was an awesome performance. And look, I hate to say I was kind of right in all the games this week, but look, this is kind of the feeling that I had, especially with this game being in Seattle. Again, this team had to feel good after the Rams game. 4 interceptions. Sam Darnold's not going to throw 4 interceptions every single game. I like our chances coming into our next matchup, losing as closely as we did against the Rams. And then especially to follow it up with all the football and how well the Seattle Seahawks had been playing. This is just an awesome clash. I will say this, look, I think for the most part this game kind of went without any hiccups, but the 2-point conversion, I know there are going to be thoughts and opinions all around about it. Um, I think we got to change what it means for like a clear and obvious like recovery.
Right.
Um, I'm not saying the Seahawks didn't deserve it, and kind of the way it's defined right now, like the officials aren't wrong, but Zach Charbonnet was not picking up the ball to score a 2-point conversion. He was picking up the ball so that they could set up for the kickoff.
Exactly. Yeah.
He wasn't trying to score. Um, I don't know. I think that's kind of a bad situation to deal with. And was that called incomplete on the field?
On the field, it was called incomplete. And I swear, looking back at the replay, I thought I heard the whistle blow well, like
That's
before he went and recovered the football in the end zone. So that, I mean, it was pure confusion to me all around.
Yeah, I that's what I thought. I thought that the whistle had blown and I thought that it was incomplete. It's like when all those factors kind of happen and a guy just walks to the football and picks it up. I don't really know how that's a 2-point conversion, but otherwise, I mean, this was a great battle. And again, I think that's just the way the rules defined. I don't think somebody got the call wrong, but the rule says if a guy picks up the football in a reasonable amount of time, it's a recovery. And the ball just happens to be, enough in the end zone where it counts as a 2-point conversion. So it's not necessarily the wrong call, but I think the wording should be a little bit different. I think a guy should have to know that like he's making a play. If everybody thinks it's
Yeah.
incomplete, you shouldn't get rewarded for picking up the ball and tossing it to
No.
the ref, which is what happened in this instance. You should have to be playing for the ball. Now, I will say this for Zach Charbonnet. With how weird that play was, where's the hustle? to get
Right.
on, like, where's the hustle from anybody to get on top of the ball? Because I've seen plenty of clear and obvious incompletions that after review are incompletions, where I see 7 guys trying to dive on top of the football, just in case. You see those little dead duck forward passes when a quarterback gets hit, and all the time guys will jump on top of that. So to me, while I think the rule is kind of weird and worded inappropriately, it's also weird that nobody tried to jump on top of this football in this
That's right.
situation because in almost every other situation and like any other level of football and any other football game ever, there's 3, 4 guys that are trying to jump on that ball as fast as possible just in case it's a fumble. So a little bit weird, but this was an awesome football game. Sam Darnold's last couple drives of this game, it's just like, wow. And again, I know we talked about it last year, but now seeing a new system for Sam Darnold, and him still having more, like maybe even more success, um, this has got to change the way NFL franchises look at quarterbacks, quarterback development,
Mhm.
and your coaching staffs. Because we're seeing right now, Sam Darnold kind of got the short end of the stick in New York. He was blamed for all their problems and they shipped off from him. And yet, the New York Jets have still not been a
Mhm.
competent football team. And now Sam Darnold has the most wins of any quarterback in the last 2 seasons.
Yep.
Uh, I think to me that says a lot. And obviously you've got guys like Jared Goff, a little bit more of an extreme example, as well as Baker Mayfield, because they did have some success in their tenures. But we're just talking about moving on from guys too early instead of sitting down and saying, hey, maybe there's something wrong with the coaching staff. And I hate to put the blame on the coaches. But again, we're seeing right now like a complete examples of guys that were given up on, um, and now they're in the right systems with the right coaches, and they're some of the top quarterbacks in the NFC right now. Those 3 guys I just named are probably inside the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFC right now. So awesome game, awesome performance by the Seahawks, and it's going to be fun to see how these two teams kind of race to the finish line here. Because LA's got to win out if they want to take the 1 seed back, and look, Seattle's got to win out if they want to hold on to it. That's the easiest path to staying at the 1 seed.
And don't forget, for those of you, ladies and gentlemen, who do not know, if the 49ers win out, the 49ers can steal the 1 seed and the NFC West from both the Rams and the Seahawks. Something to keep an eye on with Niners and Seahawks in Week 18. If the Niners win against the Bears this Sunday night, and then the Seahawks beat the Panthers, regardless, we're looking at a must-see showdown for the NFC West. So we know Austin doesn't want the Niners win the NFC West for obvious reasons because, well,
Yeah.
of the team they play on that. Let's go into Saturday's games, and real quickly, we'll just talk about it. Austin, they've done it. The Eagles have done something that we have not seen since 2004, and that is a repeat champion in the NFC East. The Eagles handled business 29-18 over the Commanders. Uh, I don't know what else there's to say. Big game for Saquon and them in the second straight NFC East title for the Eagles. That officially eliminated the Cowboys from the playoffs as well. And again, people have their question marks about the Eagles, but they've gotten it together and they finished the season maybe strong here. Don't know what they're going to be come playoff time, especially these last 2 weeks against the Bills and then the Commanders. But I mean, your thoughts on it? Eagles capturing that NFC West or NFC East? Sorry, my bad.
I Look, I'll say it. As a team, as a fan of a team that's going to be playing, hopefully, well, actually, they will be playing. They clinched this weekend, so that's good for us. But as a fan of a team that will be playing in the NFC in the playoffs, uh, this winter, uh, I'm worried about the kind of the momentum the Eagles have found here. We're talking about 3 of the last 4 weeks, maybe 3 weeks in a row. Saquon Barkley getting over that 100 yards, starting to find his momentum. Jalen Hurts, the last 2 weeks, has played some really good football. AJ Brown's looking good. Devontae Smith is looking good. This defense is playing much better. And look, the last 2 weeks, Commanders and Raiders. Sure, not big,
Right.
tough games, but it's not always about the tough games. It's just about getting your feet under you and finding a little bit of momentum. Now they've clinched the NFC East title, like you said. They're gonna have a home, they're gonna have a home playoff game. Um, and I think they win one of those last two, and they clinch the 3 seed at worst, uh, away from the NFC South champ. So like not a ton of, even though these are two tough games at the end of the season, and you don't necessarily want to just get blown out and take that kind of momentum into the postseason, not a lot of stakes to play for in these last two games in the regular season. I think you find your footing. Saquon's playing really well right now. I'd be worried about playing this Eagles team, um, because if Saquon's got a full head of steam, we saw the difference maker he was and last year's Super Bowl run for this team. So I'm worried about the way the Eagles are playing because I feel like they're starting to get their feet under them and find that momentum and find what works. And now pretty much you can just, if you're the Eagles again, you can just look ahead to the playoffs because you've won your division. You're going to have a home game no matter what. Um, You'd like to close it out with two more wins, but you don't have to. You're in the playoffs, and now it's time to start kind of gearing up for that mode and getting ready to play at Lincoln Financial in you know early January.
Yeah, just something to keep an eye on here. If the Eagles do hang on that 3 seed as of right now, they'd be playing the Rams in the wild card round. That'd be one heck of a wild card matchup that we'd get if that was the case there. But the other Saturday matchup, Austin, look, it's the one you circled. It was the one I kept an eye on because obviously some other games that we'll dive into next week didn't really go according to plan. So I was more focused on this. But the Bears taking down the Packers 22-16. Austin, if this game doesn't describe the magic of the Bears season, I mean, I don't know what does. I'll just really quickly recap and then the floor is yours. Down 16-6 with 5 minutes left. It looks like Malik Willis, who came in for Jordan Love, was going to steal a game in Chicago, and it looked like they were going to get back in this NFC North race. Bears get the field goal. Bears recover the onside kick. Packers send an all-out blitz. A great throw from Caleb Williams in the back corner. They go to overtime. Packers fumble, and Caleb Williams throws an absolute laser to DJ Moore to seal it. And Austin, it all but has sealed up the NFC North for the Chicago Bears. Obviously, still two games that they got to win. But the important thing is, due to some things that happened on Sunday that we'll talk about in a little bit, they are officially in the playoffs no matter what. But I mean, your thoughts on what was a phenomenal, improbable rally by the Chicago Bears on Saturday night?
I'll say, look, this is the game. I know what you're thinking. An overtime win against a lot of the Packers backups. What are you talking about? But listen to me. This is the game that's got me worried in a good way. Got me worried in a good way. I've started to legitimately think the Bears can win the Super Bowl. And that's not good. That's not good for me. When they inevitably let me down and they don't. That's not good that I'm starting to gear myself up. But what are you talking about? I mean, genuinely watching this game, it it's unbelievable. I'm just constantly impressed at what Caleb Williams can do, at what this team can do. 0 points in the first half. Um, I just thought, wow. I mean, the I know the Packers are talented, but this is really how it's going to be. And then Jordan Love is out of the game. Malik Willis is playing well, and I'm just like, we can't catch a break. We have an opportunity to really rise up and take a game from the injury-ridden Packers, and we can't do it. But the defense makes the plays it's known for. And look, those two throws you talked about from Caleb Williams. Who else is making those throws? Patrick Mahomes, maybe. Um, the fourth down touchdown conversion, unbelievable. To get the onside kick, unbelievable. And then Caleb Williams to make that huge throw to DJ Moore, just unbelievable. I love the gutsy call. I love the play. Look, this is something that we just didn't have with Matt Eberflus. Something we didn't have with Shane Waldron. Um, Ben Johnson is aggressive, and that's what I love. So tired of the Eberfluses kneeing the ball down and trading idiotic timeouts with Dan Campbell on Thanksgiving. Like who's trying? I don't know if you remember that game from a few years ago,
Yeah,
but
I do.
it was
I
like
do remember
they
it.
were both using timeouts at the end of the game. The Bears are not trying to score a touchdown. They're just content with kicking a field goal with like a 30 seconds left. But Dan Campbell is doing everything he can to let the Bears get every inch that they can. And it was just bad football to watch. And it's just like no aggression because Eberflus is like, we have a chance to just go up. Let's do it. And that's the thing. The Bears, like you said, get the fumble. They could just try and work it into field goal range, and they could just try and kick a field goal with Cairo Santos to win this game. But they don't do that. They come out and they take a huge shot play in, while not like lockdown coverage, there is a defender there. Like that's not an
Yeah.
easy catch to make. Certainly the throw benefits the receiver, but it's still going to take an elite catch from DJ Moore, which he hauled in. But it's just that aggression that we did not have the last few years. And um, I mean, I wasn't the biggest Matt Nagy fan, but I also wasn't the biggest hater. I just hated that we could never follow up that first season success.
Yeah.
Um, but he kind of had that aggression, also being an offensive minded coach and coming from Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes' system. So he was an aggressive risk taker, but still not like this. It's like in the big moments, make the big plays, and then to benefit that again. I just can't stop saying it, but Caleb Williams, the guy that can make any throw, the guy that can make any play, his legs, his arm, his athleticism, it's really unmatched at the quarterback position. And for all the haters who dogged Caleb Williams in the early part of the season while the run game was getting it figured out, this guy's putting together 250 plus yards games, multi-passing touchdown games, and just back to back to back to back to back weeks. And he's just going through the air. He's making the prettiest, greatest throws you've ever seen, taking big chances. Look, I mean, this is everything I could have wanted in a game in Soldier Field against the Packers. And look, this gives me confidence. Like I said, the big thing I was looking for in this game is even if we lost, what was the environment going to be like, with the chance to potentially host a playoff game, at least in the first round? And it was awesome. This team was down. They needed the onside kick. The fans were there. They got it. The environment was incredible for this game. So I love it. I'm excited to see what the Bears can do now that we eventually clinched the playoffs. Um, just hoping for a Packers and a Lions loss this weekend, and then I don't have to worry about what we do for the rest of the year because that'll be the NFC North for us.
Yeah, this has potential, obviously, because Steelers haven't clinched yet. I'm trying to think this be the first time both of our teams would be in the postseason in the same year since 2020. Was that the
2020.
last year? I mean,
Yeah,
that
that
was
was Trubisky's MVP year.
yes. And we don't talk about what happened in that Steelers game on 2020. We do not talk about that. We'll just leave it at that. I don't want to think of the snap going over the head of Ben Roethlisberger on the first play of the game. But absolutely, I want it to be known, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not a Bears fan, but I remember the Bears started 0-2, and all the people were talking, about was this going to work, and I said word for word on here, y'all can all get off the Ben Johnson hype train all you want. I'm keeping my ticket. I'm keeping my ticket, and I think it's safe to say I think it's a good thing I kept my ticket. Not
Yeah.
Polar Express good, but it's good to say the least, at least to me for that. So Bears get the win. Like I said, all but have clinched the NFC North, but they got to get some help this weekend and a win. But Austin, let's dive into Sunday and the matchup we were all watching in the noon slate. The 7-7 Buccaneers and 7-7 Carolina Panthers. Who was going to get first in this disaster that is the NFC South this year? And in the end, it was the Carolina Panthers getting the win at home 23-20 over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Man, oh man. I mean, what can we say? This was a fun game. It was a close game throughout. Tampa had an early lead, but Bryce Young made some big throws to Tedoroho McMillan, and Tampa took the lead again, and they were back and forth in the fourth quarter. Panthers get a field goal and then a late interception from Baker Mayfield, which honestly, that kind of describes this slide for Tampa. Miscommunication, not the best execution, and yet another loss. And here we are, Austin. Like you said, the Panthers sitting there at 8-7. If they beat the Seahawks this weekend and Tampa loses to Miami, as crazy it is to think the Carolina Panthers would be hosting a home playoff game. But if they don't win and Tampa wins, I mean, we're looking at a winner take all game for the NFC South in Week 18, which at this point I fully expect, knowing these two teams. But thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I mean, this was like I said for the Buccaneers, just kind of unfortunate in the spiral. But for the Panthers, like you said, they found their groove, and this is good for Bryce Young. Look, and I think he's finding a little bit of his footing at the right time because there was the talk about, is Bryce Young a bust? Is he not the right guy? Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But with what we're seeing out of guys like Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff, these guys that are getting this second chance, or maybe, if you're Sam Darnold, like a third and a half chance because he was good in Minnesota, but obviously they were committed to J.J. McCarthy. So I won't call it quite a fourth chance. But you're getting these extra opportunities. You're seeing that guys who were taken in the first round in the right system and the right opportunities finding success. This is good for Bryce Young while he's still in this rookie contract for the Panthers to be like, hey, we're starting to see the good. Maybe we found the right system, or maybe we're starting to find the right pieces for Bryce Young. And I just say hats off to the Panthers because the Buccaneers were kind of doing crazy stuff to start this season, and the Falcons, Panthers, and Saints played bad, and all those teams could have just sat down and said, all right, we're done. And for, the Saints and the Falcons, well, the Saints, they kind of were just like, well, I guess, we're done. I mean, they're winning football games now, but it doesn't mean anything as far as the division and playoff race is concerned.
Right.
And then you had some tough injuries to the Falcons with Michael Penix going down, and Kirk Cousins has come in and been decent in relief, but not quite having consistent success, which has kind of been the story of Atlanta's last 5 seasons, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But for the Panthers, they could have done the same thing. They could have just kicked rocks and said, well, the Panthers or the Buccaneers just kind of look unstoppable. They're winning games in improbable ways. We might as well just shut it down and tank for another year. They haven't done that. They've come out and fought hard. They believed in Bryce Young. They've elevated this kid to playing at a new level. Ted McMillan is finding his footing. That's going to be a scary duo in the future. I really like where the Panthers are at. I think this, consistency, belief in your guys, that stuff is so important, and you're seeing that firsthand down in Carolina.
Yeah, you talked about the development of quarterbacks. Do I not need to remind people of the Josh Allen experiment with the Buffalo Bills? Year 1, he was about as raw of a prospect as you could have. He had a rocket arm, but really he needed a lot to work on. Year 1, they play him. It's a disaster. It really doesn't go well. Year 2, he progresses enough to get him to a winning record and into the playoffs. But year 3 was the jump, and ever since then, he's been the elite QB. Josh Allen was not an elite QB from the jump. Patrick Mahomes didn't play his entire rookie season, so he wasn't immediately from the jump there, even though it kind of feels like it. So for all these people who think, well, the quarterback position, you got to be good right away, or it's got to be within a year or two. No, it doesn't. If to me, you give them it's always the rookie contract thing. You got the 5th-year option. Let's do the 5 years, see where we're going with it at that point.
Agreed.
If it's not working the first 2 years, that's where you look for a coaching change. And you try other guys. You try more. You give up on them. And I don't remember officially what was the quote Kevin O'Connell said, but I think it was something along the lines of organizations will give up on good quarterbacks before. I forget what the exact wording was on that quote, but he's essentially was saying that franchises will give up on good quarterbacks before they give up on bad coaches. It was something like that. I don't remember. I'm going to find that quote before we're done here. But it's been a fun turnaround. We'll see if Carolina has a chance to clinch it this week or if we're going to go to winner take all week 18. But let's dive into the afternoon slate here. And let's start with the one you already hinted at. Jacksonville beating Denver 34-20. Jacksonville winning this game, Austin, and did whatever they wanted to. This was domination from the jump. And dominated, had control 34-20. Trevor Lawrence with yet another awesome game. He is looking like the best he's done in his entire NFL career. And that's another story you could talk about. Early on, it looked like Trevor Lawrence might be a bust. And now this year, he's getting his groove. He's playing some of his best football. And Austin, here's what this sets up with this win by Jacksonville over the Broncos. If the Los Angeles Chargers, who beat the Cowboys this week, if the Chargers win in week 17 this Saturday, week 18, Chargers and Broncos will be for the AFC West title. So, yeah, so things just got really interesting because of this. But, I mean, let's give credit where credit's due. Trevor Lawrence and them, Liam Cohen. We said it whenever the Duval thing came out, whenever he got hired. We said, no matter what, if he leads them to a Super Bowl or if they're terrible in year one, we'll come back to that. And I think we're coming back to it for a good reason because this has been an awesome turnaround.
Yeah, this has been great for them and what they did. Look, they started the season, they looked good. And then look, there were, the waving people off on the sidelines. There were the
Mm-hmm.
arguments on the sidelines. It looked like, in the middle of this, it seems so silly to call it a skid now because they're sitting at 11-4. They've only had four
Right.
losses on the season. It feels so silly to be like, oh yeah, they really had a slide there. But there was a time where after that Kansas City win, it just looked like that was where they had reached their peak.
Yep.
And they had just had what looked like a lot of issues. But even just in the middle of this season to kind of rejuvenate and reinvent themselves and put themselves back out there in a big situation now. They're competing in the AFC. And yeah, they've given themselves a chance here to fight for that division or for, in the AFC. They've taken the division back in a situation that didn't look like they were going to get either. It's been an awesome turnaround for them. And for the Broncos, look, it's unfortunate because you would have thought their defense would have offered more resistance. I'll say this much, though. I'm still impressed with the way Bo Nix is playing. 352 yards, a touchdown. I know he threw the interception. He's bringing a lot more in the second half of the season than he did the beginning of the season. I think there's still a lot more room to have more confidence in this Broncos offense as we get closer to the postseason with the consistent 350 plus yard games from Bo Nix. It looks like this offense is still going to be a force to be reckoned with come postseason time.
Yeah, it is. Here's some stats for you, Austin, talking about this Jacksonville win streak. During the 6 game win streak, they outscored opponents by 113 points. Average score of 34-15. They have spent more time leading by 25 or more points than trailing. And Trevor Lawrence, in these last 4 games, 14 touchdowns, 0 turnovers in these last 4 games. It has been a red hot last couple of weeks for Jacksonville. And like you said, kind of peaking at the right time here. Very much still in play for that 1 seed in the AFC.
Oh,
Obviously, that one's going to come down to the wire there. Another one in the AFC, which another AFC team picking up a big win. The Pittsburgh Steelers, no bias here whatsoever, with a big win over the Detroit Lions, 29-24. And look, I sat here. Do not ask me about the final 2 minutes of this game. Was the biggest sweat fest I have had in a long time for the ending of a Steelers game. You know, if you saw the ending. But the Steelers find a way to win in Detroit. Kenneth Gainwell and Jalen Warren. Holy crap. That has become an insane running back duo there. Aaron Rodgers is playing efficient. The defense is looking like it's picking things up a bit, but with the offense actually helping them out, it doesn't actually affect them as much. So, big win for the Steelers here, and due to a game we're going to talk about in a minute on Sunday Night Football, they are win and they are division champs if they beat the Browns next Sunday. But before we dive into the Lions and then let's give credit to the winners first here for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
yeah, hats off to the Steelers and great performance. This was a battle. And yeah, for Jalen Warren to really kind of tap in and find momentum uh, at this point in the season and kind of take the pressure off of Aaron Rodgers, um, that certainly helps. Look, obviously Aaron Rodgers isn't young as he used to be. You don't want him running around trying to evade tacklers. When you've got Jalen Warren going for 143 yards on 14 carries and 2 touchdowns, Yeah, that's going to be a huge performance, and that's going to help again get that success going on offense. I've been impressed, and with the way they've been able to keep up. And look, Jared Goff had a big game throwing the football in this game. Again, I'm just impressed with the way the Steelers were able to hang with the Lions offensively. I know this is not like a compared to the Lions' typical box score. This isn't like the biggest score that you've seen the Lions put up, but still a good offensive day. And the Steelers haven't had a lot of big offensive performances like this season. So for them to be able to hang in there and go blow for blow with one of the best offensive units in the NFL and come out with the win, I think that's a big point to hit as you're going into the postseason as the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah. Kenneth Gainwell, Steelers, don't let him leave the building. Kenneth Gainwell's been one of the most underrated players in the entire league the last couple of weeks receiving. But let's talk about it for the Lions, Austin. Just a terrible ending. And I guess we can also discuss whatever the heck that ending was for this football game. With the Amon Ra push off on Jalen Ramsey. Some are saying it wasn't. Some are saying it was. It's really your opinion. I would give mine, but y'all would know it's a biased opinion here for obvious reasons, so I won't really dive into that. But here's the thing that hurt Detroit in this game, Austin. 12 carries for 15 yards. Where was the Detroit run game here? They could not run the ball in this game. And you've seen it with the Lions. When they've had success running the ball, everything else just kind of opens up. But no success running the ball led to some issues offensively in this game.
Yeah, I mean, let's just put it point blank. Look, it's close on the PI. I'm not really sure where I stand still. There is contact. It's a lot going. There's just a lot going on in that play in general. I think it's really hard to give an opinion at this point. The call is the call. Some are gonna like it, some are gonna hate it, just because of the spot. The only thing I will say is I hate in a tough game and a close game when you're battling like that. You always hate for a flag
Right.
like that to be kind of
Exactly.
a huge difference maker. Especially when it's like, I'm not saying it wasn't a push off, but it's close. It's certainly not like an egregious, like I throw him down type of play.
Right.
Um, but I will say, like you said, not getting the run game going, it hurts. And look, sometimes maybe David Montgomery doesn't get going, or maybe Jahmyr Gibbs doesn't get going. But when you can't get either guy going, yeah, it takes a level out of this offense. And kind of like what I was just talking about, Jalen Warren, him adding that extra layer to the Steelers offense over the last few weeks, being able to run the ball so successfully, making it a little bit easier for Aaron Rodgers to get the ball going and throwing. Jared Goff had a great game throwing the football, but yeah, take a little pressure off with, the best two-headed monster backfield in the NFL. And like you said, they just couldn't get that done. Just kind of an unfortunate look there for the Lions because they're a good team, but just the way the season's kind of shook out, they
Mm.
they just haven't been able to finish these close games the way they did last year.
Yeah, I mean, you take a look at it, the one score loss to the Vikings, the one score loss to the Eagles, one score loss to the Packers, one score loss to the Rams, and now one score loss to the Steelers. I mean, it plays out like all the time. It's going to result in having the losses there. But now for Detroit, and I will say the only thing I want to add there is the thing that hurt Amon Ross St. Brown that play was he extended his arms fully out. Like that's the
Yeah,
thing that
agreed.
hurt him. Like you do a half shove, you might get away with it. But when you extend your arms out fully, they're going to look to call that. But also the
Agreed.
official didn't blow his whistle for like 10 seconds after the play, which led to him being able to lateral it off to Jared Goff and causing all the chaos to happen there. I don't know what that was about. But for the Lions here, Austin, let's say like it is, playoff chances are alive, but they're very, very slim. In order for Detroit to make the playoffs, they would need to win out, and the Packers would have to lose out. So that's their only way they can get in. So we'll see what happens there with it. Now, let's dive into Sunday Night Football here. The Patriots taking down the Ravens 28-24. The hate watch was a success. I loved it. This was a 24. The Ravens came out, dominated this game early on in the third quarter. The Patriots had that stupid fake punt. I don't know why they did that fake punt in that game. Ravens go up by 11, 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter. You think, man, that might have been it. But a big time throw by Drake May and some big time drives by the Patriots to take the lead back here and win the game in the last minute to escape and get to 12-3 and very much keep themselves alive for the one seed. But the big thing for the Ravens, obviously, Lamar Jackson injured right before halftime with a back injury. He did not return. I don't know what his official status is for this week for the Ravens. For their sake, they better hope he plays. But thoughts on this one from what was a very intriguing Sunday night football game. It's been a while since we had an intriguing Sunday night football game.
I agree, and kind of like again with the way this game started out, it looks like, oh, do the Ravens have something up their sleeve? The 7-0 after the first quarter, but yeah, Lamar going down at half, and then kind of the controversial decision to not play Derrick Henry in the fourth quarter after
Yeah.
that big rushing touchdown. I think that's the thing that's not talked about enough. I understand that Derrick Henry has had some fumbles and some slippery fingers at certain points in this season, and I know kind of is a challenge in the passing game, but you talk about a 4-point finish here. You weren't exactly desperate to just heave it the entirety of this fourth quarter. I think when Lamar's out, you've got to have Derrick Henry on the field. I know he's not your go-to receiving back. You got to make him your go-to receiving back. You've got to have your best playmaker who's healthy on the field. You just have to. And even if he's not going to get the ball, that gives the defense something to think about. You think about all year, he's been used in primarily
Mm-hmm.
run situations. They've really used other backs like Justice Hill in this receiving game. At the end of this game, no Lamar Jackson. Make life easier for your team and have Derrick Henry out there, and at the very least, have him be like, again, some eye candy or something just to distract. I mean, Tyler Huntley, 9 for 10 for 65 yards. He tried
Yeah.
in this one. I don't know how Derrick Henry just leaves the game with 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter and just never touches the field again, especially when that last play was a touchdown. Maybe a different story if it's a fumble or like he drops like a
Right.
screen pass into an interception or something. But when it's a touchdown, like a positive play that you benefit from, don't know how Derrick Henry's not out there. It's just been that kind of season for the Ravens. I know
Yep.
there's some people calling for John Harbaugh's head. I think that's kind of stupid, personally.
Right.
I get it. Maybe you don't like him. Maybe you do like him. He's been there so long, though, and it's like he has one bad season in the last like 8 years, and it's time for him to go. I get it. You've been close. You've wanted to finish the job, um, but this has been an injury-ridden, just beat down of a season. You look at the entire defense has been down with an injury at some point this season. Lamar has been constantly off the field this season with injuries. Um, I think honestly for Baltimore, maybe John Harbaugh goes on the hot seat this offseason. I think it would be so foul and so wrong to fire a coach with that much tenure and that's done that much for your organization in a year where you still could finish above 500, and that would be honestly an impressive feat with everything they've been through. That's my personal opinion, though.
Yeah, it's a lot like the Mike Tomlin, firing talks. Like I'm a Steelers fan, and I at points want Mike Tomlin fired. It's not going to happen. Just like it's not going to happen with Harbaugh with this long it's been. I would be very shocked if anything happened there. But for the Ravens with this loss, they no longer control their destiny. They need to become Cleveland Browns fans this weekend, which is ironic when you think about it for many different reasons there. Monday Night Football, last one to dive into. This was last night. It was the Phillip Rivers primetime game. Colts taking on the Niners. And Austin, what's that? It is. Phillip Rivers came ready to play. Colts offense scored 27 points. He threw for nearly 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. Problem though, The Colts defense did not come ready to play, and the Niners put up 48 to win the game by 21 points, 48-27. Uh, I mean, it was just brutal. It's been brutal down the stretch. This was a 7-1 Colts team. We were looking at 8-2 at one point, and it's just brutal down the stretch here how bad things have been. But it wasn't because of Philip Rivers in the offense last night. The offense came ready to play. Defense let them down.
No, shout out Alec Pierce, Cincinnati legend, was making some incredible plays in this receiving game. And look, I love this. Last week Philip Rivers comes out and he's just short throws, handoffs. Keep it simple. This week they get him more reps, he gets more playbook, and he's like, "Dadgummit, I'm gonna come out and sling this football." And that's exactly what he did. I loved it. Um, Really great job by the 49ers in this football game. Brock Purdy and this offense finding their rhythm at the right time. Scary for me as a Bears fan because I would just like the Bears to win this weekend and clinch the NFC North and a home playoff game. Uh, but of course, it's going to be a tough battle. But we'll be in it for anything, so I'm excited about that. But yeah, this was not Philip Rivers' fault. This defense just could not stop this 49ers offense. I really don't know who could right now with the way Brock Purdy's playing. Seeing Demarcus Robinson's name flash up at the bottom, catching a touchdown, I was like, man, I loved me some Demarcus Robinson, but I did not know he was still playing NFL football until he caught that touchdown in like the second quarter of this game.
Florida Gator
Yes.
legend, Demarcus Robinson.
But this
But
this game was a treat. It was awesome to watch. I I personally have loved every bit of the Philip Rivers experience. He is giving his all. And I loved his interview after the game last night. He's like, of course, it sucks. He's like, I've only been here for 2 weeks, and I hate that we're losing these games. He's like, but if they had asked me to come out, if somebody asked me to come out and play for somebody who's 2-10 right now or 2-14, whatever it would be, he's like, just to get another chance to play an NFL football game, I'd do it. He's like, I love being out there. I love playing, and that's the energy I love. That I feel like we miss from certain players. He's just out there and he's playing and he's having fun. It's been a blast to watch. I know he probably won't be back next season, more than likely. I don't know who would bring him back, but honestly, just his progression between last week and this week, give Philip Rivers an off season,
yeah,
and he might actually come out and get you like 9-10 wins and put you in as a wild card in the playoffs somewhere.
yeah, absolutely. And can I just say, I loved it. His cadence at the line and stuff and everything. Like you don't hear that from quarterbacks much nowadays. Like you don't see many quarterbacks doing that nearly as much. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm back in 2011, 2012. Oh, this is fantastic. I've died and gone to football heaven." It's what it felt
Yes.
like whenever you could hear him up there at the line, like just doing the little things, like saying you get 20 here just to keep 20 out of the play so they can get it off to people. It was awesome for it. But let's take a look at the playoff picture here, Austin, and let's start with the AFC. A lot of playoff spots were sealed due to the result of last night with the Niners beating the Colts. The Broncos, Patriots, Jaguars, Chargers, and Bills are all in the playoffs officially. But none of those teams have clinched their divisions yet. So these teams can still move around a lot here. Really, the only two things left in the AFC to decide are the Houston Texans and the Indianapolis Colts for the 7 seed, and then the Steelers and the Ravens for the AFC North. So realistically, we could have all the playoff teams in the AFC set before week 18. We may not have what their official place would be in the field for seeding wise, but we could have all the teams placed in here for this one, depending on what happens next week, Austin.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to kind of see how things shake out. Unfortunately, with the way the Jaguars are playing, I think we'll probably see Houston in and clinch this weekend. I think Philip Rivers could give him a fight. I certainly wouldn't be opposed to seeing a crazy Philip Rivers upset this
Mm-hmm.
Sunday. But I'm with you. I think we'll probably see all of our seven teams clinched. Like you said, maybe not exactly where they're going to be come the end of the season, but I think we will see them all clinch, and we will know our seven teams in the AFC.
Yeah, obviously Broncos, the 1 seed right now, could lose the AFC West still. Patriots, the 2 seed, could very much lose the AFC East still. Jaguars, the 3 seed, could very much lose the AFC South still. And then the Steelers could very much still lose the AFC North. So, like I said, nothing is set in stone as far as seeding, but we could know all seven teams honestly by Saturday, by the end of Saturday, because the Texans play on Saturday against the Chargers, and then the Ravens, depending on what they do, they play Saturday against the Packers here. NFC, boy, oh boy, it got shook up, Austin, due to Thursday night. The 1 seed now, the Seattle Seahawks. Bears still in front with that 2 seed. Eagles, the 3 seed, and they are the only team in the NFL to have clinched their division in the NFC East. Only ones they get that, they clinched the NFC East. And the Panthers have the 4 seed right now. And then the 5 and the 6 seed in the wild cards are nuts, Austin. The 5 seed currently, the San Francisco 49ers, and the 6 seed, the Los Angeles Rams. Yes, because of things that happened this week, the Rams went from the 1 seed down to the 6 seed. And then you got the Packers there at the 7 seed. Again, there's still that there's only two things left here to determine the team still. Who's going to be the NFC South champion, Panthers or Buccaneers? And then the battle for the 7 seed. Is it going to be the Packers or the Lions? And I think if you're the 2 seed, whether that's the Bears or Seahawks or whoever it is, I think you're all probably rooting for the Packers to get a win at some point because I think they would all much rather face a Packers team dealing with injuries than a Lions team that is still healthy. They just haven't been able to win out the close games here.
Yeah, after watching the game Saturday, I don't know how I feel about that. I'm scared that the Packers would just dig deep and find a way to upset us in the first round of playoffs. But like you said, the much healthier team right now is the Lions, and I'd hate to give like Dan Campbell to give a fiery locker room speech to come out, after barely sneaking into the playoffs, uh, and get these guys fired up and ready to go in a playoff game. So I don't know. My dream scenario is that all of the NFC West teams lose this weekend and the Bears become the 1 seed, and I don't have to think about it anymore. That's my dream scenario. So I will be obviously rooting for the Bears. They play the Niners, rooting for the Panthers and Falcons, to make my dreams come true. And then I don't care because we won't have to play anybody in the
Yeah,
first round. That's
I was
my
about to say, yeah.
dream scenario. The Bears 1 seed scenario is what I will be rooting for.
Absolutely. So we'll see where that goes with the NFC. Again, there's still so much to be determined there as far as seeding and where they're going to be placed. All kinds of things to determine, but let's do some game picks here, Austin. Even though all three of these games really don't have too much playoff implications, they're the Christmas Day games, so we're going to pick all three of them here. Let's start with it. One that already features two eliminated teams at noon on Christmas Day. The Cowboys and the Commanders facing off. Cowboys looking to finish the year strong. The Commanders, Austin, the Mariota injury that happened in the game for the Eagles, it is very possible we could be looking at a Josh Johnson Christmas Day start for the Washington Commanders. Yes, Josh Johnson is still in the NFL, ladies and gentlemen, if you know the legend. But where are you leaning with this one in Washington on Christmas afternoon?
Just the present I need under my tree, Josh Johnson playing on Christmas. Um, I'm leaning with the Cowboys, though. The Commanders, I think, take it safe in this game. Look, you've had a lot of injuries. Debo Samuel, all those guys you want to bring back next season, maybe give them the last couple of weeks off. Let them rest on Christmas Day and kind of gear up for next season. I'm not exactly saying tank, but I don't know. I don't think it's tanking when you're out of the playoffs and your best players are hurt, and you really just need to stay healthy going into next season. I think it'd be so stupid to have a Debo Samuel or a Terry McLaurin get like crazy hurt
Right.
in two meaningless games at the end of the season.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I also just think the Cowboys will look to finish the year strong.
Yeah.
Um, I'll take the Cowboys pretty comfortably here, but if Josh Johnson does start, I will be a Josh Johnson stan on a Christmas morning. You don't even want to know. That is the present you
Yeah.
need underneath your Christmas tree. 3:30 on Christmas Day, also on Netflix, just like that Cowboys Commanders game. You got the Lions heading to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. The big thing though, no JJ McCarthy from Minnesota in this game. Hairline fracture in his hand. The kid cannot just stay freaking healthy. For the love of everything, just stay healthy, dude. But it will be Max Brosmer, former Minnesota Golden Gopher rookie quarterback, leading the Vikings at home against the Lions team, who, Austin, they're as desperate gets. They got to win out to have any sort of miracle happen. Do you see them getting the win here in Minnesota on Christmas Day?
I do. I think the Lions have the pieces to be able to match up with the Vikings. Um, Things have obviously changed since that first matchup this season. So I like the Viking or the Lions to come out and win this game. I could not stop saying Vikings. Someone was trying to possess me to continue to say the word Viking. Um,
It
but
sounded like you were trying to combine Lions and Vikings there, and it was like the Likings. You're like, who are you
man,
liking in this matchup? It's what it sounded like you were
yeah,
saying there.
maybe that's what was happening. It was awful. Whatever
Yeah.
it was, I couldn't stop it. But I'm gonna go with the Lions in this game. Had JJ McCarthy been playing in this game, I still would have picked the Lions. So literally nothing changed. I just think the Lions are the better team. I think they've got more to play for. They're gonna come out and they're gonna miss the playoffs, they're gonna go down swinging.
Yeah, I was about to say if there's one thing about Dan Campbell teams, they're going to go down swinging. I will go ahead and tell you this: I'm picking the Lions to win, and I will most likely be betting Lions minus 7.5 on Christmas Day because I feel very confident they will win by double digits. But Austin, if you thought Josh Johnson and Max Brosmer was not enough great QB action for you on Christmas Day, I got one more for you. Christmas night, the Denver Broncos heading to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs here. Gardner Minshew injured in the loss against the Titans, not an ACL tear like originally thought, which would have been wild to have back-to-back ACL tears to quarterbacks. He's going to be out for this game though, so it is Chris Oladukin in at quarterback for the Chiefs for this game. Literally a second-year quarterback from South Dakota State. Um, and I heard the man talk. He sounds exactly like Patrick Mahomes. I'm not even kidding. I heard the man talk. He sounds exactly like Patrick Mahomes. It's not even funny. So yeah, this is your yet another fun Christmas present you get in this game. Yeah, Chris Oladukin trying to take down the Broncos, who are trying to stay on top, getting into that one seed in the AFC. No matter if the Broncos win or lose, depending on what happens with the Chargers, they still have to battle it out in Week 18. But who wins this game in Arrowhead on Christmas night?
I think you couldn't pay me enough money to play quarterback for the Chiefs right now. I value my health far too much. That's obviously a lie. You probably could pay me enough money, but it's going to take a substantial amount. I'd hate to be the third guy stepping up and being like, "Oh, what happened to the last two guys?" Yeah, they just destroyed their knees. Yeah, I think that bodes well for me as I start against one of the top defenses in the NFL. I'm gonna go with the Broncos in this game. Again, a lot more at stake for the Broncos than there is for the Chiefs. I think they come out and they come guns blazing and get the job done in Arrowhead.
Yeah, fun fact, the Chiefs had to sign a new backup quarterback for this game because, well, they needed a backup for the third string. That'd be SMU legend Shane Buechele out there as the backup
Yes,
quarterback.
yes. Hey, cancel everything. Why is Shane Bushel not starting this game? I am so mad that you just told me that. What are we doing, Andy Reid?
All right, you got me there. I guess something else that I thought was intriguing. The news that came out yesterday: the Chiefs are leaving Kansas City, Missouri, to go play in Kansas starting in 2031. Something that I thought was
Wow.
interesting. They're leaving to go there. They're going to build them a dome stadium because apparently playing outdoors is just not fun anymore. I personally love outdoor football in the winter, but that's just me.
Arrowhead was awesome when we went, also.
Yes, Arrowhead was awesome. So they'll have it for a couple more years there before they move there in like 2031. But yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to pick the Broncos. I just think this is going to be like a 17-0 Broncos final. The over under is 36 and a half. I will probably bet the under. I'm not going to lie on that, despite being how low it was. Saturday games. Austin, some fun. We got two very intriguing Saturday games after whatever that Christmas slate we just talked about was.
Yeah.
The Chargers hosting the Texans on Saturday at 3:30 on NFL Network. Very simple, Austin. Chargers win. They set up a winner take all for the AFC West in week 18. That's what they need to win this game. They lose, the Broncos clinch the AFC West. But if the Texans win, Austin, they officially clinch a playoff spot in the playoffs. They'd end up probably being the 7th seed and would be able to probably rest some guys or not be as stressed heading into week 18. So both teams really want this game to kind of seal up or give yourself a chance for some playoff action here. Who wins this one in SoFi?
I like the Texans to take this one in SoFi. I think they're playing hot, playing in momentum right now. Chance to clinch the playoffs. I like CJ Stroud to get the job done.
All right. I'm tempted to go with Houston, but this Chargers defense has played so well over the last couple of weeks. They've gotten better and better, and Herbert's coming off his best game against that Cowboys defense. I know much level, different, increased level in defense going against this Texans team, but I think having Omari and Hampton back at 100%, I think is going to be something to help the Chargers. I think they win this game and they make it a very intriguing AFC West winner take all in week 18. Then later that night, 7 p.m. Austin on Peacock, not on NBC. This is a Peacock exclusive game. Don't ask me why it's on there. Don't want to talk about it. Green Bay Packers hosting the Baltimore Ravens. Again, another one where both teams need the win, Austin. Both quarterbacks are dealing with injuries. They should be able to play, but it's not 100% guaranteed either guy ends up playing here. Green Bay needs this win to seal up a playoff spot. Baltimore needs a win to just keep any sort of hope of winning the AFC North alive for them. Man, oh man, both teams need it, and both teams' quarterbacks might not be 100%. Yeah, that tracks for a late December game for teams needing a playoff spot in the very end here. Who wins this one at Lambeau?
I'm gonna go with the Ravens here. I like them to come out backs against the wall, move up to 8-8, and at least for the day keep their hopes alive at the NFC or the AFC North title.
See, this is tricky for me because I know if the Ravens lose, the Steelers are not don't have to worry play stress-free football the last 2 weeks of the regular season. But if the Packers win, Dan Campbell doesn't get to go to the playoffs. It's a tough scenario here. But solely because the Steelers can control their own destiny with winning on Sunday, I'm going to pick the Ravens to win the game so Dan Campbell can still have a shot at the postseason. So that's literally my only reason I'm picking the Ravens to win this game. If the Ravens lose, at least the AFC North is wrapped up, and I don't have to worry about, going into Cleveland and potentially losing that game on Sunday. Which, speaking of, let's dive into the Sunday games. Not a lot of intrigue, but let's start with one in the noon slate. Panthers heading on the road to take on the Seattle Seahawks in the noon slate, Austin. It is simple for Carolina. A win and a Tampa Bay loss clinches this division. But the Seahawks are looking to keep that number 1 seed, Austin. I think I know where you're leaning here due to some rooting interest that you have, I think, in things happening here. But what do you think happens in Carolina on Sunday?
I'm going to be rooting for the Panthers in this game. I just don't know that I can pick them outright. I hope they come out and they win this game. But the Seahawks find their footing, good momentum. I think we got a letdown spot here. You know what I'm going to say it. I think coming off the highs of winning
Yeah.
last week in Seattle, Carolina can ride the momentum, win this game, and get themselves a step closer to the postseason.
Yeah, this was originally my bet of the week before I did my research and got way more excited for another game. My bet of the week was going to be Carolina plus 7.5 for a letdown spot here for the Panthers or for the Seahawks. But I have a gut feeling knowing this NFC South, it's going to come down to week 18. So I agree. I'm going to pick Seattle to win this game. Close game, very much within one score. I will probably still bet Carolina plus 7.5, and they just got to keep within one score. So yeah, I'm going to pick Seattle to win this game. 12 o'clock game, last one we're going to pick here. We're not touching Tampa Bay, Miami, because I think we both know who we think we'd pick for that one for Tampa. If they lose, we'll talk about it next week. Last one we're going to talk about in the noon slate, Jaguars, Colts. Look, can Phillip Rivers pull off the magic here and keep the Colts' slim playoff hopes alive? Depending on what happens on Saturday, they could be eliminated at this point whenever they're playing. But Jacksonville looks to wrap up this AFC South and still keep their hopes alive, potentially getting that one seed, Austin. So intriguing game in Indy. Which side are you leaning here?
Um, like you said, the dust could already be settled. I think my decision would lean heavily kind of on that. Because I'll say this much. If you don't have a commitment from Philip Rivers for next year, and you're not gonna, no matter what, Daniel Jones will not start the year next year. You're probably going to be picking between Anthony Richardson or Riley Leonard to start next season. If you're eliminated, I would think that the Colts would play Riley Leonard for the last two games and just see where he's at and if that's the direction you kind of want to go next season. Um, that's what I think you would do after being eliminated from the playoffs. I think maybe Philip Rivers gives you your best chance to continue to pursue the playoffs. But if you're out, maybe you go ahead and let Riley Leonard get a couple games in and see what he's capable of. Um, but I think the Texans will win this weekend. I think the Colts will be eliminated. In my mind, that means they would start Riley Leonard and start to work out what him running the offense might look like. So I'm going to take Jacksonville to win this game in Indianapolis and continue their momentum.
Yeah, actually, so I've learned they plan to start Phillip Rivers no matter what on
Okay.
Sunday. So that's the plan there. And you know what? I haven't done a fun pick in a while. Jacksonville's won 6 in a row. Everyone's talking about them now after going in and beating Denver. Yeah, Phillip Rivers has a field day. Give me the Colts to beat the Jaguars. That's a fun upset pick I'm going with there. I don't know. Again,
I like it.
all the people in Jacksonville were saying no one's giving us credit, but now everyone's giving you credit for going in and beating the Broncos in that game. Maybe you're just thinking a little too much ahead there with it. I'll take the Colts to steal one there. Austin, this is the game that I will be most looking forward to on Sunday. And it is not the game that any of us think. I don't care when you look at the records. We are discussing it, Austin. It is the Tank Bowl Super Bowl here at 3:05 with Kevin Harlan on the call. That's how you know it's going to be a good football game. The 2-13 Giants and the 2-13 Raiders. The loser has inside track to the number one pick in the NFL draft, Austin. Everything is on the line here for the future for both sides here. So, Austin, the question is not who do you think is going to win? With it being a tank bowl, the question is who do you think is going to lose and gain control of that number one pick?
I think it's going to be the Las Vegas Raiders. I think they're going to lose this game. I'd like to pick Ashton Genty to run all over this Giants team. It's just not going to happen. A super good defensive line in New York, a way better offense in New York. I think New York could legitimately win this game by multiple possessions, and I think they probably would.
Woo! Okay. Man, oh man, it's tricky. But if there's one thing I know about the Giants franchise, they continue to be a comedy. I think the opposite. I think Ashton Genty has a field day here. Because I kind of think the Giants have kind of mailed it in for the year. So I think my loser is going to be the New York Giants. Keep control of that number one pick and making that thing look as great as possible. I will be glued to this game in the afternoon slate. I don't think you people understand. This is the Tank Bowl Super Bowl. This is what we all live for this time of year. Now let's pick an actually intriguing game here, Austin, to end off the Sunday slate. We got the Eagles and Bills in the afternoon. There's a chance of snow. I don't know how good of a chance it is, but chance of wintry conditions in Buffalo. Bills and Eagles, they're both in the playoffs. Right now, they're both just trying to gain a little momentum heading into the postseason here. The question is, Austin, which one do you think gains momentum entering postseason play?
You know, it's hard for me to root against my guy Josh Allen, and that's why I'm not going to be doing it here. I hope for my fantasy football championship sake, the Eagles and Bills have a high scoring game. I have a lot of Eagles players on my team that I'm heavily invested in their performances. Uh, but I like the Bills to win this game. I like Josh Allen to have a big game and continue to try and fight for that AFC East crown, even though it may just be a little out of reach.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I kind of have my worries about stop this Bills ground game having issues here, especially after having issues the last couple of weeks with their defense. And I think the Eagles are getting some mojo on the ground. I don't know what it is. Gut feeling, I'm going to pick the Eagles to win this game. I don't know what it is. Just true gut feeling here. I think Philly can go in and sneak it out. Because, like you said, it's kind of getting scary that now Saquon's starting to pick it up. Maybe he doesn't
Agreed.
run for as many yards as he did against those other two teams, but maybe they have more confidence in the ground game and more success with it here. So I'll pick Philly. A little surprise upset here and a little bit of a late Christmas present for New England Patriots fans, which would all but clinch them the AFC East. But Sunday Night Football, let's get to it, Austin. This is a big one. These teams made the playoffs last this past Sunday due to the Steelers beating the Lions. Y'all are both welcome. Just want to point that out. Niners hosting the Bears. Look, this is going to be an intriguing Sunday Night Football matchup. Bears, like you hinted at, want to wrap up this NFC North, want to guarantee a home playoff game. Niners want to keep their hopes alive, knowing if they win this game, they very much have a chance at stealing the NFC West and getting a home playoff game and the one seed. That both teams really want this game to have a chance at that one seed in the NFC. I know where you're leaning, but just walk me through it here.
Look, the Bears have been a tough team to put down all season long. I think they can hang with anybody, play with anybody. I like the Bears going into Santa Clara and getting the job done. Look, if you've been watching the show for the last few weeks, you've heard me give the same spiel. It's not changing. This defense is going to do its job. Caleb Williams is going to make plays at the end of the game. The Chicago Bears are going to roll and clinch that NFC North in this one.
Man, oh man, this is a tricky game for me because again, both teams I think are playing well right now at the right time. I don't know. You know what? Just for a split, and I knowing me and my jinx and the way our picks have gone this year as a whole on games, I'm gonna pick the Niners to win. Maybe to cancel it out so that way there's no both picking the Bears, thus the Niners win a blowout. Maybe it can cancel it out. Maybe somewhere along those lines. I
That's
don't know.
fair.
This game's really a coin flip. I think both teams are pretty even. Quarterback play, coaching. I think everything matches up equally. It'll be a close one. I could see a -3 for the Niners. I mean, shoot, it might just if it goes any lower, I'll probably pick the Bears to cover that because I think this will be a close game. Really, I don't have a strong feel on it, but I'm just going to go with the home team and pick the Niners here. Now, Monday Night Football, Austin, not an intriguing matchup, but it's a funny matchup for several reasons. The Rams heading to Atlanta take on the Falcons on Monday Night Football. For those of you who do not remember, during the NFL draft, the Falcons made a jump up in the draft to go get James Pierce, trading with the Rams. If you remember, in that deal, Austin, the Rams got the Falcons' first round pick for this year. So this is really a twofer for the Rams. You win, you keep your NFC West chances, number one seed alive. But also, if you win, you make your pick that you got from the Falcons a little bit better here. So it's funny there for the Rams in this one. Do you see them going in and handling business, or do you see Kirko and the Falcons pulling off maybe another surprise here?
I think Kirk Cousins is going to come out and have a good game. I think he'll keep this close. But I like the Rams to win this game and keep rolling.
Yeah, I agree with you. I really don't see a path where the Falcons win. Again, it's just funny to me that they're going to make their pick ultimately better for them that they got from them in that draft pick. It's amazing how that's worked out. Also, just some breaking news here. It is official. Marcus Mariota is out for a second straight Commanders practice, which means sources say it is trending towards veteran Josh Johnson making his first start of the season as of now. And Austin, you want to talk about all name team? You'll never guess who the team added to the roster in case they need a backup quarterback.
Who?
Jeff Driscoll added to the roster
Wow.
there. Yes, Jeff Driscoll is still somehow in the NFL. I mean, you got me. I really don't know how he's still in the NFL here. I mean, it's truly bizarre here. But that's it for the picks here on what is a well spread out slate for the NFL this weekend. Now let's go to the bet of the week here, Austin. I mean, man, oh man, we were so close to getting it. At least I don't think so. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, your bet of the week. It was Jets Saints under, which did hit, right? I need to remember the score there.
Oh, I don't know if it hits.
Yes, it did. It was 29-6 final. So the under did hit there.
Sweet.
And the Patriots hate watch was a success. So Austin, we are 4-0 the last 2 weeks in the NFL with our bets of the week. Can we keep it up and get to 6-0? Boy, what a fairy tale finish this would be to end the year for the Bold Take Podcast Bets of the Week. What do you got here? Week 17.
Look, I said I thought Kirk Cousins was going to play well. I stand by that. I like Falcons plus 8.5 against the Rams.
Ooh, okay, okay. All right, I like it. I like it. A little Monday Night Football bet here. I like it. Like I said, my initial plan was to bet Panthers plus 7.5. But as I got more into my Tank Bowl vision of how I want this glorious 2-13 Tank Bowl showdown to go, I want it to be disgusting. I want it to be terrible. And on that note, give me Giants Raiders under 41.5. I want a 10-7 final here to see who gets the number one pick. I want both teams working hard to suck as much as they can so we can see who the worst of it is. So that is my bet of the week. Giants and Raiders under 41.5. Like you said with him, he's got Falcons plus 8.5. This will be intriguing to see what we got here for our bets of the week. Can we get to 6-0? Boy, oh boy, would that be a fun story if we could do it. Knowing this year with our luck, it probably won't happen, but let's hope so. That's going to do it for this episode of the Bold Take Podcast. Again, no college football episode this week. We will be back early next week to get you ready for the quarterfinal matchups. Man, oh man, some good games are going to be happening on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. And who knows, maybe we see a special guest appearance from somebody next week on the college football episode.
Maybe you'll have to stick around, find out, pay attention to the Bold Take socials, where there might be a little bit more
Ooh,
information coming
I
soon.
like it. Little teaser here for y'all, but that'll be coming next week. But that's going to do it for us here. From here, both of us here at the Bold Take Podcast, a very Merry Christmas to you all. We hope it's a great time of year for y'all, and we wish you the best, and we want to thank you all for watching. That's Austin Hill. I'm Austin Waiter, and we will see you all next week.